So, welcome back, everybody. This is Night Flight, and today we are going to talk to Misty Tripoli, and she is the founder of, now, wait a bit, the World Groove Movement. Exactly. It just escaped my mind for a second there. So, Misty, welcome to the show. And
Thank
how
you.
are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to be here. I'm excited to have this conversation.
So, Misty, founder of the World Groove Movement, have you always been into dancing and sports in general? Was that always your thing?
Yeah, ever since I was little, like, you know, my mom. My mom's an amazing woman, world-renowned astrologer. She's just a fabulous human. And she's a super mom with 7 children and doing it all on her own. But I grew up, like, my mom said that I literally jumped out of her vagina and started dancing. Like, that's what happened. And I was called Tippy Toes when I was little because I was always just dancing around. But my mom couldn't afford dance lessons. So I never actually took any training or had any of that. I just had a love of dance. And when music would play, I would start like through high school and stuff, I would be the choreographer. I just had a knack for it. It was something that it was like my natural language, more or less. And that took me into fitness. And so I started teaching aerobics so that I could get paid to dance. And that led into me learning so much about why people don't dance and the restriction of it, and actually how detrimental it is to our souls if we don't dance, because we actually dance before we walk. Babies dance and no one teaches them how to do it. You just put music on around babies and they'll bounce, and you see videos of it popping up all the time, on social media, little kids dancing. No one's taught them how to do that. They just know. And we all deeply know. It's just there's a point in our lives where we become too afraid of it and we're afraid of looking stupid and we think there's a right or a wrong way to dance. And then it stops us from dancing. But if you go back tribally, like that's what we did as tribes for thousands of years. And we used dance for everything and everyone participated. It wasn't like, someone didn't participate. It was everyone was a part of the dance, and we danced to praise, danced to mourn, we danced to for the rain, we danced for it to communicate, and we've lost touch with that natural thing that we all have together because of fear. So I've been passionate when the groove came to me about 15, 20 years ago through a very powerful awakening in my life. This method literally was downloaded. Like it just came to me exactly what I was supposed to do, how I was supposed to do it, what it was called. I had visions of me traveling the world, teaching it around, getting people to dance again together. Not just themselves, first themselves to give themselves permission, but then to have the experience of actually that feel of that tribal connection. Now that doesn't mean we dance to tribal music. I made tribal dancing really modern and really fun, like to modern music to so that everybody can participate. So I've been passionate about dance and movement my whole life, my whole
Mhm.
life.
So I have to admit, I'm a huge fan of classic ballet. And but you say there is no right or wrong way, just dance. So I figured there is no, okay, first you do this movement, then you do that. You do not really do a, yeah, choreography.
No, because the truth is most people can't follow choreography. So
Mhm.
that prevents them from dancing because they're like, I can't do choreography. I've got 2 left feet. That's the majority of people. So they don't dance. And train dancing is a different thing, like ballet and jazz and tap. Those are amazing things, but they're trained. You have to learn that technique. And it takes years and years to master those techniques, but you're not dancing your own dance. You're dancing a technique that someone else created. What I'm trying to get people to understand and what groove does for people is it reconnects them to their own natural way of moving their body to music. And there is no two people that are the same, just like there's no two bodies the same. And so I basically use simple truth to help give people permission, which is your body's different. You should move differently. You shouldn't copy. You should absolutely be unique and unauthentic. There is no right or wrong way to dance. Nobody cares what you look like. They really don't. Like, this is what's so funny is that's one of the biggest reasons why people don't dance is they're afraid of what it looks like because they could get it right or wrong. And what I'm trying to let you know is that no one's looking at you. Nobody cares. We're really not. Nobody cares. And we live our lives in these cocoons of fear. And we don't really truly get to experience the deliciousness of living in a human body because of the fear of what people might think about it. And dance is such a powerful, powerful tool for so many things. Like, just it's literal medicine for your soul. Because I think that this is something that we're born to do. Our bodies are meant to move creatively. Like, look at us. We're these amazing sensorized meat suits that have the capacity, to wiggle our booties and, and use our bodies as a form of expression. And it's the fear that stops us from doing that. And they actually have said that the fear of looking stupid or embarrassment is greater than the fear of death. And that is, for me, it's horrific because if the moment you tell yourself the truth that nobody cares, like nobody cares about you that much to actually care how you dance. And if they do, then they got problems, let them deal with their own problems and what's going on in their own head. Like, it's none of your business. My mom always said that what people think of you is none of your business. Like, don't bother with what people might think about you. And that was my conscious shift in my awareness that happened and why group came about, because I started to make those conscious shifts in my own life because I was living my life to impress everyone else and to fit in and to be accepted and, and never really questioned, like, what the hell am I doing? Like, who am I trying to impress? Like, what and why? Like, they don't mean anything to me. The only thing that matters is I go to bed with a smile on my face and I've impressed myself. That's really the only thing that matters. And so I started to set myself free. And the moment I started to set myself free, this method came through me. And I've been able to teach it to thousands and thousands of people around the world that get it. And they're like, yes, this is this is what we should be doing the whole time. Like, I can't believe I didn't dance. Like, it's this easy. I can't believe I didn't let myself do this. But it's never too late. Like, I've got students that are in their 90s. Like, it's never too late to start to give yourself permission to move your body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. So I spent a lot of time in Kenya. I was married to a Kenyan, hence my funny last name. And yeah, I have witnessed tribal dances. Yeah, so with the Maasai, for instance, but I got to say that they moved in synchronicity. It felt to me as if there is some choreography.
This is the thing, that in the tribal dances, it's always typically to drum. Mm-hmm. So they all sync into the same rhythm of the drum, whether it's a jumping motion or some type of thing. And then within that, they have their, like, you see that, someone might come out and do their own thing, but everyone's in sync in the same rhythm. Now, this is what I do with groove, which is so powerful, is that there's no choreography, but there is an anchor, which means in every song, what I do, because most people, if I just say dance, people are going to go, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't know what to do. So what I do, and part of my method is I give you something to do that you can do. Like, for instance, the move for the song might be walking. So what I do is I sync. If it's you by yourself, you're doing it, because I have an app and you can dance with, you can do this method by yourself at home. But the magic is really when you come together and you do it with a group. So what I do is I do that same tribal thing as I get everyone synced up into the same rhythm. So everyone's in flow. And that's the thing of the tribal thing that makes it so powerful. Is everyone is in sync together. Everyone is, you don't go to a tribal dance and see a Broadway show. You see people that are almost in a trance-like state because they're all sunk into the same rhythm and they're in that same, I call it the groove. So that's what the groove is unifying everyone together in the same movement. Could be a walk, it could be an arm movement, but I do movements that are super simple that everybody can do. You don't need to know anything. There's no technique, or just simple movements that, clapping. A song could be clapping. But then what you do is you start to play with the clap and all the different places and ways that you can clap. Or when you walk, I ask you questions. Can you walk backwards? Can you walk sideways? But everyone is still in the same groove together. And so you get to feel the power of being unified in sync with an entire group. And that's kind of what tribal dance does, is that it mimics that, where everyone is in sync together. But then you've got the people, you know, the guy that's amazing will come out and, you know, they have their own flow of it. And it's not like they're with three other guys and they're all mimicking the perfect move together. It's, you notice that that's what you said, everyone is in sync together. And that's the magic. That is the magic of, because that's what creates the unity. And you actually can feel that in your body when you're participating. It's a very powerful, and that's why I think it's a very powerful healing mode, because we're so disconnected from each other's, from our community, from intimacy. And dance is another beautiful, intimate, not sensual or sexual, a very intimate way to connect with a group and feel the unity of what it feels like to be so connected to all of these people in one time. I've done it with like 500 to 1,000 people at one time, and everyone in sync together. It's so powerful. It's mind-boggling. It's like if you were at a rave and everyone's jumping to the music at the same time, and you feel that pulse of everything moving as one. It's hard to explain because it's something you have to experience. Like you just, you know.
Yeah, sure. So you already mentioned that you became an aerobic instructor to get paid. And from what I could gather, you were quite successful in that. And at the same time, there was a little bit, not just a little bit of darkness. It felt to me like split lives, the successful aerobic instructor, and then what else was going on?
Well, yeah, when I was 14, like I said, I've always loved to dance, and I started maturing and my breasts were getting really big and my hips were getting wide. And I started to hate my body, and I kind of just modeled everything I saw outside of me. Like I didn't have an example of a woman that actually loved their body or wasn't at war somehow with their body. And so that's what I grew up with. And as a young girl, you're just going to model what you know. Like, of course, I'm supposed to hate my body. I look disgusting. I'm fat. So at 14, I started making myself throw up. And bulimia at that point took over my life. I was throwing up 3 to 4 times a day to the point of throwing up blood. And keeping that so secret. Like I was married for 8 years and he never knew. Like he had no idea. And so it was like this, like the sneaking around and the secrets because it's so shameful. And especially because I was a fitness expert. I was like head aerobics instructor. I was a Nike athlete. Like I was all of these things on the outside that looked like I had it all figured out and I knew what I was doing. But the real me, who I was being, was living a complete lie. Like I was the most toxic, unhealthy person that I knew. And I was training athletes, but me, myself, I hated myself. I hated my body. I was at war with myself. I didn't even actually know who I was. Like, I just realized that I had followed, trying to be the pretty girl, living in LA, going, Hollywood, trying to fit in, trying to look pretty like everybody else. And it literally almost killed me. And that was the big, huge part of my awakening. Was it got to a point where I just couldn't do it anymore. Like I just was at the point where I'm like, if this is what my life looks like 5 years from now, just kill me, just take me. Like what, I'm going to lay in my coffin and they're going to say, oh, Misty, she had a great 6-pack. Like that's what all they could say about me, because that's all I cared about. That's how my life revolved around what I looked like and who I was impressing and having the money and fitting into society and, going broke and bankrupt, just trying to maintain this appearance of success and health. And it was pure darkness and a complete lie.
Yeah.
And then one day I got hit over the head with the truth and it woke me up. And from that moment, it literally happened in a moment. my whole life changed. Like I felt like I was born again. Like I felt like my eyes were opened, and I started dancing different. This is where the groove came. I started just going to a studio and putting music on, just letting myself dance. And even as a dancer, I felt uncomfortable just letting my body dance because I always danced to like choreograph or create a routine for my aerobics class. I never actually just put music on and just let myself just go wild. And I started to let myself do that. And while I was doing that, I realized I was connecting to the creative force of the universe. Because when you're creative, you're connecting to creativity, the creative force that birthed the universe, and you're aligning with that, you're atoning with that. And I was letting that move through me. And that within 2 weeks, I had stopped, like bulimia just left me. It disappeared out of my life after 16 years, every single day, 3 to 4 times a day. And within 2 weeks, I just was like, I was like, when was the last time I threw? I was like, the desire just left. It's because I was starting to fill my bucket and take good care of myself and start to honor myself and start to find my authentic self, the one that wasn't trying to fit in, the one that was like, oh, this is who I am. And it's been an amazing journey, but it was a hard one, but they're also beautiful because sometimes we need to get taken down to the depths of our darkness so that we will seek the light. And because pain is the great motivator, right? And the pain of living my life in this hollow, ugly shell was just, it got to the point where I was ready to take my life.
Yeah, that is so true. Sometimes, unfortunately, I think our species has a problem that we only learn when it pains.
Yep, unfortunately, but that's kind of the way that it goes. And hence what we're dealing with now in the world. Like we have to go through these pains so that we wake up and see and actually have eyes to see and become conscious and aware. But yeah, pain will do that to you.
Yeah. You already mentioned that you went to Hollywood. I guess you had a contract with Nike, yeah? And I would say I also spent a lot of time in Los Angeles during my flight attendant times. And I would say, yeah, that is actually, especially Hollywood, that is actually a very toxic environment in terms of status symbols, yeah, who has the biggest car, the fastest car, who has the most money, who has the biggest house, and or whatever. So there appears to be a competition for bigger, better, faster, whatever. Yeah, but at the end of the day, I always had my doubts that all these, yes, they had a lot of stuff, more than I ever did. Yeah, but I don't think that really that they were that happy.
Well, yeah, because those things that you like, you can't, that's not real happiness. That's not authentic happiness. Like you might have a moment of woohoo if you buy a new car and enjoy driving it, and that's lovely, but that's not what's going to actually make your soul happy, like, and shine. And it's very empty. It's an empty, and not everyone in LA is like that. Like once I started to wake up, I started to connect with other people and started to actually, like, I have no friends left from that time because I was like, none of these relationships serve my highest good. None of these things lift me up or make me a better person. So I started to find wonderful, lovely people that live in California that are still my friends to this day. And so they do exist there. Like there's like the LA, Hollywood, Beverly Hills, the big blah, blah that everybody knows about. But then this undercurrent, there's a beautiful, but those aren't the people that are going to the parties. And those aren't the people, these are the real people that just, want to live in California because of the great weather and, they like to dance. And so those people do exist, but I didn't know of those people until I woke up and I started to change. So I started to attract people that were like that, where before I was just trying to fit into the Hollywood scene, and be famous and just this. It makes me laugh now. Well, it's like, what a waste of time. Like, it has no value, zero value. Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, but it is to a whole lot of people so important up to
yeah,
this day, and they will do anything to keep the facade up. Yeah.
yep,
And
yep.
so you said, I had a couple of interviews where we talked about narcissists. And narcissist, that personality disorder, when everything is done and said, what it boils down to is it is shame-based. Yeah.
Mm.
And so what would you say is the root of bulimia or eating disorders in general? Is that self-loathing? Is that the root, or what was your impression?
You know, for different people, there's different flavors of it. Some people that have eating disorders, it's about control.
Mm-hmm.
That they have to be able to control, and it's very obsessive compulsive about control. For me, it wasn't about that. It was about controlling my weight, but I was actually out of control, completely out of control. And it was because I didn't like my body. I didn't like who I was. And so for me, I think it all boils down to a lack of self-love. It's because we don't know who we are. We are disconnected from our source. Everything is external. So you don't it's a lack of knowing yourself and a lack of self-love and respect. And that's what it for me personally, that's what it all boils down to in some form, that it's just a lack of respecting and loving yourself. And what I found is that that's not anyone's fault. Like when I woke up to it, I realized like, wow, that's me hating myself was not my fault. That's what I was taught. I was taught to hate myself. I wasn't taught to stand proud and love my body no matter what it looked like and be okay with who I am. And, because I just didn't see that anywhere else outside of me. And it was interesting when things started to shift for me and I would go teach my classes. I would teach with new eyes and new ears. And I would look out at my students and I'm like, they're just like me. Every woman in that room is suffering with how they feel about their bodies. Every single person in that room is trying to make it different, is trying to change. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Being healthy is good and fitness is good, but it gets to the point where it becomes obsessive and it's trying to control and look perfect. But I really truly believe that it comes down to a lack of self-love and respect. And it's not anyone's fault. It's just we've never been taught what that looks like or how to do that. So
So with eating disorders, is that, how shall I put that? For instance, if you have addicts, like let's say drug addicts, alcohol, my goodness, people that are addicted to alcohol, alcoholics, that was the word. And so sometimes, they have their little circles, where they share their addiction, and being in that group makes it feel a little bit normal. And so how was that for you? Did you have contact with other people that, or was it just a lonely thing?
it's very lonely. The difference of like alcoholism, and there might be like young girls that, that do bulimia and all that stuff, and they've got friends that talk about it and they do it, but that's not very common because it's a very shameful disorder. There's so much shame around it. You don't want people to know that you are sick. Like, but alcoholics like to hang out together and drink and have fun. It's not like bulimics get together and have a food party and vomit together. Like, it doesn't work that way. It's so shameful. Like the extent that I went to hide it, like vomiting in my car in a plastic bag and dropping plastic bags off on sides of roads and just the level of just absolute shame that no one knew. No one. I didn't tell anyone, like anyone for 16 years. No one knew that I had this problem. I was so embarrassed about it and so ashamed of it. And it was interesting that when I started to talk about it and share it with people, that was a huge part of healing from it, is giving myself permission to speak about it and say that this is something I suffer with and I struggle with. And I was amazed that when I did, because when I was started to go under contract with Nike, they took me around the world to teach and to speak. And I started to talk at these conferences, rooms filled with women. And I would talk about, this, the undercurrent, the dark underbelly of the fitness industry, which is eating disorders. Most everyone in the fitness world has an eating disorder of some kind. And what I mean by eating disorder is disordered eating, which means you're counting your calories, you're starving yourself, you're restricting yourself, you're like your day revolves around what you're eating, and just, that's disordered eating. Like, that's not the way. Like, if you go back to caveman and cavewoman, do you think that they were counting calories and putting themselves on the scale and weighing it? Like, it's ridiculous. It's a modern issue, and it steals your life. It steals your thoughts. It steals your energy. It steals your frequency. Like, you can use your brain for much better things than obsessing about calories, like that kind of thing. So I would speak at these conferences, and it's amazing that I would share, I'm like, my bulimia story, and that was something, and women just crying. And then I'd ask, how many of you have a disordered eating, but you're too afraid to tell anyone? And I'd say 90% of the women raised their hands. Wow. And people crying. And I can't tell you how many times people would contact me after that and were like, thank you so much for sharing this story, because you told my story. This was me, like, and this is me. And seeing that you can talk about it, like, now I feel like I can talk about it and I can start to go to the other side. Because when you're in it, you don't think you'll ever be out of it. You just don't. You don't, like, that's what I like. I would be so envious of other people that, like, I saw that were thin. And I thought other girls that had, like, that were thinner than me had it all figured out. They had life all figured out. How do they stay so thin and so beautiful? And I'll never be like that. I'll never be I'm always going to have to make myself throw up. And, like, I'm never going to have control over my food. I'm never going to have a positive relationship with food. Food scares me. Like, the moment I would eat food, it would trigger everything in me. And then it would start a whole, binge and purge process all over again, just by putting food in my mouth and being afraid that those calories were going to hit my ass and my ass was going to grow. Like, just, it's disgusting. But speaking about it and talking about it is part of the healing process. But I didn't give myself permission to do that for many years. And most girls that have an eating disorder don't want people to know about it.
Mm.
Well, but maybe not, because I've heard now, and I'm not really tuned into it, but I hear now on, like, TikTok and social media, there's actually, like, a wave of, like, girls that are starving themselves and are famous on TikTok and, like, are inspiring other girls to do the same, like how thin they can get. So now I don't know what the environment is like, because that's sick in itself. Mm-hmm. But I know that, like, people correspond and talk about it on TikTok and stuff like that. I don't know about bulimia, but I do know anorexia is huge on TikTok.
Yeah. When you were in that, in that vicious circle, what were your eating habits like?
Oh, it was horrific. Like, it's even hard to believe what I would do. So any food I would let stay in my body. So I would get up, I wouldn't eat, I'd have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee. And I'd always start my day out good. I'd always be like, today I'm not gonna do it today. That was always how I started every day. I'm gonna eat good. I'm gonna start every day good. But this is what I mean. Like, the moment I was tempted by anything, like someone brought in muffins to work, and I'd have one bite of that muffin, and that was it. I would excuse myself from work. I'm going to go to the coffee shop and grab a coffee. But really what I would do is I would go to Taco Bell and McDonald's, and I would fill my car with food and I would shovel it all in. I'd go find a place where I could vomit in a plastic bag in my car. leave it in my car, go back to work. And, and then at night on my way home, I've already done it once. So why not do it again? So then I would do the same thing on the way home, fill my car with food. And then I'd go home and I'd probably throw up. I'd maybe have 2 more rounds at home when we get home. So it was like, I mean, like I was so toxic. This is what I mean. It messed up. Like I lost almost all my back teeth from the acid. Like all my back teeth are not my own teeth. Um, I was so toxic that I literally had boils down my neck because I couldn't go to the bathroom. I'd have to take laxatives to go to the bathroom. So I wouldn't go to the bathroom for like a week at a time. So like the toxicity that came out of like, it was disgusting. And yet I was a fitness expert and I was the one teaching all the classes and the person in front. And I tried to wear all this makeup to try to hide all my, my boils and the blemishes on my skin and my toxicity and put the smile on my face and act like everything's okay. But my eating was, it was horrific. Like even I had no control. I just had zero control when it came to food.
So what I'm hearing is, although you wanted to be skinny, you ate a lot of junk food.
Oh, like it would scare me how much I could eat. Like I could eat a whole pizza, a hamburger, a half quart of ice cream. Like I would eat until food was here. Like, and the thing that was even more disgusting is I couldn't make myself throw up. So I would buy what's called syrup of Epcat, which is what, you give babies, like if they get poisoned, it makes them throw up so that you can get it out of their system. So I would go to all the pharmacies and buy up all these little bottles of Epcac syrup, and I would chug a bottle of Epcac syrup. You're supposed to take a tablespoon. I would chug the bottle and I would wait for about 20 minutes. And then it would make me so violently throw up that it would make me throw up until I threw up blood. And then I would be dry heaving. And no, it was so ugly and so horrific that I did that to myself. A lot of the time when I started to heal was a lot of just, I'm so sorry to myself. Like, I'm so sorry that I did that to you. Like, oh my God, like that I abused myself at that level. But yeah, just zero control with food. And I would try to eat bits of healthy food that would stay in my body, but then I would still even be afraid. And what was crazy is when I was doing that, even though I was throwing up all the time and not much food was staying in my system, this is the thing, is that your body goes into starvation mode. So what it's going to do is it's going to store all the fat it possibly can because it doesn't know when it's going to get food again. So I was actually about 20 to 25 pounds heavier than I am now. So, that's about 12 to 15 kilos heavier than I am now. And I was and I was doing hours of cardiovascular exercise every day. And it didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter. My body was literally in a panic mode and just holding on to everything it possibly could for survival.
Mm-hmm. So we already mentioned anorexia. Is there a big difference, you think, between the two, or is that just a different method of abusing yourself?
I'm not really sure. I know that it's just another method of abuse and a lack of respect for yourself. But what was interesting is it's like I could never have been anorexic because I couldn't not eat. So I don't know what an anorexic, like what it would require not to eat. Like I just can't even imagine not eating. Like I could never have been anorexic. I couldn't have done it. So I'm not familiar with what's behind that as much, other than just needing to control. That's definitely more about control, I think, because you're controlling every morsel of food that goes into your mouth, even to like, I will have one bite of lettuce today. Like I can't even so for me, it was just very different. I'm just familiar with bulimia and what that was like, but anorexia is a whole other thing, because literally to starve yourself to death it's like, that's hard for me to even process. Where bulimia made a little more sense because it's like, I can eat whatever I want and then I just throw it up. Like, I love, that kind of thing. So but I know at the root, the core again is a lack of self-love. Like it all boils down to that.
Yeah. And so Evie, so why do you think that
I love your cat. That's awesome.
Why do you think that is? That we are, our self-image is so, yeah, so bad. It's so toxic. And do you think that is a general problem in society? Or where do you see the roots? Because I find it, you know, I have done not for dieting, but fasting for cleansing, let's say in spring, yeah, and I didn't eat for 10 days, things like that. I did, but then I picked it up again and everything went to normal. And I think I would not be a good fit for for bulimia, simply because I hate to throw up. Yeah, sometimes there, just a couple of weeks ago, I had a wonderful Thai salad, and for some stupid reason, um, I was sitting on the sofa and I thought, whoa, that doesn't feel good. And then I went to the bathroom and all, and I hate that. I hate that when it happens. Yeah.
Yep.
But okay, I felt better after it was out. No doubt about it. But the process itself, I find that horrible.
It is. It's all, and I hated throwing up too. So I mean, I couldn't even make myself throw up, and I hated it too. But it was better than having all that food sit in my stomach and wake up feeling fat the next day.
Oh,
Like for
okay.
me, it was worth it because that was better than being fat. Like for me in my life, that was just better than waking up feeling like a failure and fat. And as a fitness instructor, the pressure was even more because I was a fitness professional to be fit. And so to not be a fitness instructor was just not okay for me. Like
Mhm.
it just it's such a wild thing. And I think going back to the first question that you asked about, that it's in society, I think it's kind of twofold. Well, the main root, I actually believe it's programmed into us. I believe that it's done deliberately to keep us distracted and to keep us obsessed about things that don't matter so that we don't actually stand in our power. Because
Mhm.
when humans stand in their consciousness and their power, their self power, we are unstoppable. You cannot govern us. You can't control someone that is awake. You can't. And if you're obsessing about your body and you're distracted and you're over here trying to obtain this absolute unattainable image of what you're supposed to be, and Hollywood is a huge part of this, showing us what we're supposed to look like and what beauty, what the standards of beauty are, and all of this, they push it in our faces from when you're just tiny, showing you that you're never enough, you're never good enough, you're never pretty enough, you're never thin enough, you're never rich enough, and chase it. Here's the carrot, chase it, and just chase it. And I actually believe, especially for women, because we are so powerful. And I think that that's why for the last several, I don't know when we were in the, um, what's the time when, when we had the witch trials and the women really had power because they were connected to earth and they knew how to make remedies. They were considered witches. Like we are so powerful. We literally are the ones that made all the babies on the planet. Like we create, we give birth, like, and men know this, real men know this, that the women are the ones that have the power, but they have to weaken us because we are so powerful. And if we actually, as women, stopped caring about that, and it's not about, I have to rephrase that. I don't think it's about stop caring about it because I think that we're actually wired in our DNA to feel beautiful and want to be beautiful because it has to do with safety and security, which is in our DNA. It's like that reptilian brain that we need to be safe. And if you're the most beautiful, you'll get the biggest, strongest man that will protect your family. So it has to go back to do with safety, that being beautiful means that you're going to get the best of the best. And I think it's just in our DNA, but it's reptilian. It's not necessary. And now money represents safety. So now women are the most beautiful. That's why you see, an old fat man with a beautiful young hot woman, because it equals safety. Like, because that's our root value for women is feeling safe. We need to feel safe because we physically are weaker. So being beautiful is like our secret weapon. And so I love to feel beautiful. I love to adorn myself. I love to feel beautiful, but I know why I'm doing it. And I know that it doesn't ultimately matter. Like, I'm not doing it that I need that approval from other people outside of me. I love to just adorn myself because I'm a woman and I love to make myself even more beautiful than I feel that I am. But it's very different than what I did before, which is doing it for everyone else and trying to be like I remember when Jennifer Aniston from Friends, everyone was cutting their hair like Jennifer Aniston. I tried to cut my hair like Jennifer Aniston. And it's like, what am I doing? We're all trying to look the same. We're trying to look like these people, these models of what we're supposed to look like. And it's about us as a community, as a global community, waking up to what actually matters. And your physical appearance is the one thing that truly, ultimately, at the end of the day, doesn't matter, because that's the one thing that's going to disappear. And we all know this as we get older. You're like, why didn't I realize how beautiful I was when I was younger, when I was so beautiful, but I didn't believe I was that beautiful. And then by then you're like, well, now I'm old and I'm wrinkled. And the next shot is, horizontal in the ground, like, this is what I mean. It's if we need to wake up and stand in our power and realize what's true. And if you're trying to be like someone or think that you have to have a certain body, or that consumes any of your thoughts, it's stealing your power, your actual like personal power. And like I said, I think it's programmed into us because the powers that be do not want us in our power at all.
You know what? I think on a deeper level, we are even dealing with dark magic here. And because, people always have, with black magic, they have these Hollywood movies in their minds, and the crazy rituals. And there is that. But at the end of the day, making you believe in something that doesn't exist or isn't important in the slightest way, there you go. That is dark magic 101. Yeah.
Completely. Like the sparkly, shiny things. Look over here. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And with Hollywood, I mean, it comes with a name. Yeah.
Hollywood.
Yeah. So the magician, the druids had this magic wand that was made of the wood of a holly tree. So they tell you right there, we are magicians.
Yep. And everything is that was what the thing is, that when I started to like wake up and see, and like my consciousness shifted, then you see it right in your face what they're trying to do. It's so clear, like Hollywood, but it's right there. Like you said, it's just do some research and figure out, and the signs and the symbols, the symbology, and how the symbology controls you, and how they use symbology, because these symbols have power and they mean something. And, we don't even think about it. It's just like whatever, but they're flashing this stuff to put us into a trance and to hypnotize us. And I totally believe that it's black magic in its form. And I believe that it's all about light and dark. Like, and we as human beings, we can't deny the dark or be afraid of the dark. It's like that shadow of ourselves, that we are a whole complete people. And even within us, we have the light and the dark. We're not just, pure light, even though we are light. It's that we have shadow parts of ourselves that we don't want to look at. We don't want to look at our own darkness. And part of, awakening and really truly knowing yourself is looking at your darkness and looking at your judgments and, the things about yourself that are restricting you in your life. And a lot of it is, if you look at what you judge, will show you a lot of what your darkness is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What you judge in other people.
Yeah. I mean, I have sometimes, and not yet exactly with my own body, but I sometimes have second thoughts about the human body. Yes, I know it is functioning, and if it's healthy, it's a great thing, but there are some aspects that irritate me. For instance, that we use our toilet parts to make babies.
It's interesting, huh?
And then, when you enter into this world through the blood, again, through the toilet parts. So that is something. When I think about that, then sometimes I think that maybe this is the death realm. Maybe this is the devil's suit. And I'm not saying that to encourage people to hate their body. I'm far from that. It's just, when you think about stuff like that, you have to detach yourself a little bit from that. Otherwise, you can go crazy and you wind up in a full self-destructive mode. Yeah. And that is not my intention here. But I have to admit, sometimes when I look at things and I have a second look at it, especially as a little child, I was, my mother, when I grew up, there were no Pampers. Yeah. And so, um, yeah, what she did, I didn't need any Pampers or anything when I was a 12-month old. I was already potty trained. Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, I'm not doing that.
But I have a clear memory, from that potty training time that especially, with the poop, that as a little child, I felt embarrassed. And I remember that I thought there should be a better solution.
Should come out your mouth.
No, and just, yeah, or the fact that, yeah, we are all living on somebody else's energy, be it plant, animal, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a weird thing for me when I consciously woke up to the fact that something has to die for me to live. Like that was a really interesting, like no matter what it is, plant, animal, whatever it is, something has to die because the cycle of life, like it's part of the deal. Life eats itself. Like that for me was like, wow, I never really thought about that because we don't know that fruits and vegetables they don't sense and they don't feel because they've actually stuck electrodes to them and see that they do. Like it, that they respond to words and they respond to music. So are we like killing a piece of broccoli? Like, is that different than eating an egg? Like all of these things, like it really hit me in a really interesting way that life, if you think about it, is quite violent. But what you were saying that we come out of the parts that we go to the bathroom. Yes and no, because the vagina is not a bathroom thing. That's the urethra and the anus are the two. This is in the middle. And actually, the vagina is literally the gateway to heaven. And that's why if you see, I love it in Mexico because we have Mother Teresa and there's a picture of her. And if you put it back, it looks exactly like a vagina from the clitoris to the whole thing, because it's like she is entering the woman, entering the mother. And we go through this. So babies are born through that. They're not born through your butthole. They're born through the vagina. And the vagina is literally the path, the gateway to heaven. And that's why men always want to be up in there. Like it's, it's like, it's heaven. It's literal heaven, like, and entering the gates of heaven. And so I have a little bit different take on it. I went through a whole point in my life where I didn't want to have sex because sexual organs disgusted me for a while. After I woke up, I was like, look at us just putting these parts together. And I got over that. And I was like, no, okay, that's not what that's about. But I had a moment of that as well, that I was a little disgusted with it. But now I see it as that this is again why women are so powerful, because this, and yeah, we're stuck in these human bodies, which is weird. We're our souls. But I also look at it, for me, as I like to think that my body is a temple, and that I don't have to go to a temple. Like I don't have to go to a certain place to be holy or to be worthy or anything like that. Like wherever I stand is holy ground. Wherever you stand is holy ground, because God, whatever created you, is in you. It is part of you. It's what animates you. It's what gives this meat suit animation. Because the moment the animation's gone, like, what keeps the meat suit animated? Like, that's what I find fascinating and the wisdom of the body, and that we get to experience for however many years, short or long. Even long isn't long in eternity, but whether it's 10 years, a year, or 90 years, to be able to experience. And I'm not sure if this is our prison or if it's actually heaven, because we ourselves make it a heaven or a hell, right? Like, you couldn't think of a more beautiful place than planet Earth. Like, when I think about it, I couldn't dream up a planet more beautiful than Earth. Like, it's like, oh my God, like, it has everything. It's the most beautiful. And so we ourselves, through the way that we think and the way that we live, turn it into a hell. We could turn it into paradise. It is paradise. We live in paradise, but we humans and the way that we think and our egos and all of that turn it into a living hell sometimes. And it's unfortunate because we have these cool little meat suits. We get to experience this beautiful place. And then it's just people shitting all over it, and it's unfortunate, but I choose. And this is why I live in the jungle most of the time, off by myself, where I feel like I'm in heaven, that this is the way we're meant to live, is in nature and in sync with nature. And, this beautiful letting nature, because we're part of nature. Nature doesn't need us, but we need nature. that to have the honor to live in this beautiful, like, to be in the jungle and the monkeys and, the water and just everything. It's like, wow, like, I couldn't have dreamt this up. Like, God gave whatever it is, made this for our pleasure, I think.
Yes, definitely.
Like, look at flowers. Look at the flowers behind your head. Like, the sheer purpose of that is just for pleasure for your eyes.
Mm-hmm.
To make your, like, this is what I mean. Like, and it's so beautifully created. Like, I have flowers everywhere around my house because it's like they put me into a state of absolute awe that whatever it is created this just for my pleasure, to look at this beautiful color and symmetry and just are you kidding me? Like, I'm just in awe of it all. But it's unfortunate that we collectively turn this beautiful heaven into a hell.
Yeah. So to wrap this up, because I know your time is limited, so what would you advise to somebody? It appears to me that you did your healing also by yourself. Not only did you go through the whole ordeal all by yourself, you also did the healing by yourself. So what would you say to somebody that is not capable of pulling themselves out of it? Would you say seek help, talk to somebody, open up, and
well, if you need help, get help. But I want people to know that we actually do have everything inside of us that we need right now, not tomorrow. It's just you're seeking help for someone else to give you permission. And when you give yourself permission, and if it takes someone to help give you permission, then find that person that's going to help either let you talk it through, whatever it might be, help give you a different perspective, whatever that might be. But I'm a firm believer that everything exists inside of you right now. And it's a lack of connecting deep within yourself. And I would suggest just starting by asking yourself, what would it look like if I were to be nice to myself? If I were to show kindness to myself, what would I do today? How would I talk to myself? How would I treat myself? Because you know what kindness is. It's hard to love ourselves, but you know what it looks like to be nice to yourself. Like, you know what that looks like. You know what that sounds like. You know what you need to do to be nice to yourself first. And I would recommend filling your day, or finding a way to fill your day with things that are, number one, being nice to yourself, and things that you enjoy. Things, whether it's even just sitting with a cup of coffee and not talking to anyone, whether it's just going outside and putting your face in the sun and taking some deep breaths, Like what I do, I buy myself flowers because I'm not waiting for someone else to buy them. I buy them for myself because it lights me up and it shows to me that I matter, I care about me, and flowers make me happy. So God damn it, I'm going to buy myself some flowers. So that's what I mean. You have to be brave enough and hold yourself in high enough regard, because this is one of my truths that I teach people. No one's going to do it for you. No one is coming. There is no no one's going to save you.
No savior.
There isn't. No one's gonna be happy for you. No one's gonna be healthy for you. No one can do it for you. You have to go, I matter. It's important. And I'm gonna take the necessary steps to stand on my own 2 feet, one day at a time, one day at a time. Don't put up big goals like I'm gonna love myself today. No, you just go today. What little thing can I do today? One little baby step today that's realistic, that's tangible, that I can do. And day by day, bit by bit, one day at a time, just flexing a little muscle of self-respect, a little muscle of I matter, a little muscle of I know how to be kind to myself. And if you do need someone to help you to see different perspectives, I totally recommend having someone help you. But at the end of the day, it's you that has to do the work, and it's you that has to stand on your own 2 feet. And you have everything inside of you right now to do that. Don't think it's someday, near in the future, whatever that might be. It actually is right now. You just have to believe in yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I think that was very helpful. And time and again, we need to hear that. So, Misty, where can people find you?
You can find me all social media, my name, Misty Tripoli. But if you want to actually play with dancing and you want to express yourself to your authentic self and learning to love yourself, dance. And I'll show you a very super easy, simple way to do that. I hold your hand all the way through. I'll make you feel good about dancing in a really short period of time. And you don't have to know how to dance. You don't have to have any training. And you can it's called Body Groove. I have an app. And if you want to test it, you can just go to YouTube and type in Body Groove. And I have lots of free videos there where you can sample it and try it. It's as simple as walking. And you can actually even do it in a chair. That's how easy it is. I make it for you. And I would encourage you to start to get in tune with your body and let your body express itself and learn how to move your body. It'll make you feel so good. And it connects you to your authentic creative self, which is your true self. So that's you can find me there. And the World Groove Movement, we have live classes. I'm coming to Europe. I'll be in Germany, in Munich in June. I'm going to be in Denmark. So any of you guys, because you're in Germany, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'll be coming to Germany to do some events in Switzerland. I'll be there. So you can go to the World Groove Movement or getgrooved.com, and you can go to my calendar page and you can see all the events and where I'm going to be if you'd like to come and dance with me.
Okay. So great. Yeah, guys, that was it. Night Flight for today with the wonderful Misty Tripoli. And I found it very inspiring and encouraging. And we see you all next time. Stay safe and sound out there. Bye-bye.